Welcome to the Psychology of True Crime with me, RC. The doors of prison have closed behind Donna Adelson. Through the foundation of the life she had spent decades building, at 75, a woman who had long defined herself through control, image, and family influence now faces a world where none of that matters. The polished matriarch, once accustomed to orchestrating the lives of her children and projecting authority into every corner of her household, has found herself confronted with the reality she had never prepared for: absolute powerlessness. From 2014, the year of Dan Markel's tragic loss, until her arrest in 2023, Donna had lived in a delicate suspension of normalcy. Outwardly, she appeared to move through life with the same precision she had always cultivated, hosting family events, traveling, maintaining appearances, presenting herself as the devoted mother and grandmother she had always wanted the world to see. But beneath the surface, her mind remained in denial, rationalization, and strategic control. She had constructed a world where her identity remained intact, where her role as a matriarch and arbiter of, of family morality could remain untarnished by the weight of consequence. Psychologically, these years of freedom can be understood as an extended period of cognitive dissonance. Donna lived with the knowledge of scrutiny, the whispers of suspicion, and yet her life found ways to reconcile her self image with the unfolding reality. Maintaining appearances, controlling narratives, and reinforcing her authority allowed her to continue believing in her own moral correctness. Denial had become not merely a defense mechanism, but the architecture of her identity itself. When her arrest finally came, the sudden collapse of the carefully maintained illusion must have been nothing short of catastrophic. The woman who had spent decades orchestrating the behaviors, emotions, and the decisions of those around her now was faced with a system over which she had no influence. Her environment no longer yielded to her will, and every instinct that had once sustained her sense of self was met with the cold reality of confinement. Psychologically, this can be described as ego collapse, where the confrontation between a long held self concept in a world that no longer validates it. During sentencing, the dynamics of the psychological defenses became even more visible. Donna addressed the court but refused to be sworn in, a choice that on the surface might appear as defiance, but beneath that surface, it was a striking act of symbolic control. By declining the oath, she maintained the ability to speak with her own version of events without fully committing to a legal or moral framework imposed by the court. Her words, laced with frustration and a sense of personal grievance, it projected the persona of a woman wronged, rather than one who had contributed to unimaginable grief. This moment reveals the enduring strength of narcissistic defense. When accountability threatens identity, the mind seeks refuge in the narrative where it remains the protagonist. The relationship between Donna and her son Charlie had always been reinforced with these patterns. Both shared a worldview which control, strategic thinking, and family loyalty were paramount, sometimes to the detriment of emotional awareness. In Charlie, these traits manifested highly organized and sometimes rigid approaches, reflecting the values instilled in him by his mother. Their bond was mutual in respect and love, but it was also entwined with enmeshment. Decisions were rarely independent, and emotions and expectations were circulating through the family system, feeding interdependence and the moral distortions. Psychological theories on family systems suggest that this kind of dynamic can lead to both high functioning coordination and the amplification of blind spots. Blind spots that in this case has long reaching consequences. As Donna began her life behind bars, the consequences of her authoritarian identity became even clearer. She had built her life around influence, prestige, and social control. Now, each was stripped away from her. In an environment governed by rules she cannot bend social structures and be dominant. She's confronted with what psychology calls learned helplessness, which is the realization that effort and strategy can no longer guarantee outcomes. For someone whose self concept relies so heavily on mastery and authority, the adjustment to such a reality would be profoundly destabilizing. This can affect the mind and body of a person who was once the instrument of precision and control, now having to navigate a world entirely beyond their command. While Donna wrestled with the internal battles, the Markel family continued to navigate through their own grief, a grief that had transformed into resilient advocacy and purpose. Every milestone missed, every celebration absent of Dan's presence, became a reminder of loss that cannot be undone. Yet rather, succumbing to the despair, the Markels turned pain into action, embodying what psychology calls post traumatic growth. Their ability to create meaning from devastation stands in stark contrast to Donna's psychological defenses, which has long relied on avoidance, projection, and denial. Within the prison walls, Donna faces the ultimate test of her identity. She must confront a world where power is no longer measured by control over others, where status can not shield her from reality, and where the masks of authority are stripped away. She may seek new avenues of influence, subtle manipulations, alliances within confined spaces, or ritualized control over daily routines. But these are pale reflections of the expansive domain she once commanded. In such condition, the rumination, the depression will become plausible companions of her. As the mind wrestles with both isolation and the collapse of long held conceptions, the psychological trajectory of Donna's downfall illustrates a broader human truth. When authority and control are prioritized above empathy and moral awareness, the eventual confrontation with consequence is both inevitable and psychologically destabilizing. The skills and traits that once facilitated power, strategic thinking, meticulous planning, dominance over social structures, can, when misapplied, transformed into the mechanism of internal collapse. Yet, in the midst of this, the Markel's family demonstrates a contrasting narrative, one of moral clarity, resilience, and enduring love. Where Donna's psyche relies on denial, projection, and defense, the Markels embody acceptance and advocacy. I read Ruth Markel's book, The Unveiling, in late 2022, which to me was a testament to the possibility of turning trauma into purpose and to the ways in which human beings can navigate grief without losing connection to empathy, responsibility, or hope. As we reflect on this story, the parallels between personal loss and public consequence emerge clearly. Donna's years of freedom were not years of peace, they were years in which reality and self perception existed in uneasy suspension. Her unsworn statements in court was not merely defiance, it was the final articulation of a lifetime of control strategies, and psychological defenses. Her sentence, through administration by the justice system, began long before that. Even now, in the stillness of her cell, Donna faces the mirror of her own mind. The quiet is unrelenting. Every thought reflects the life she built, the authority she held, and the relationships she shaped. And perhaps, for the first time, she is left to confront what remains after those defenses are stripped away in parallel. The Markels continue to stand as a beacon of resilience, navigating absence with grace, reconstructing meaning from loss, and finding in truth a measure of justice that transcends verdicts. In the end, Donna Adelson's story is not simply a narrative of consequence. It is a study in the human psyche under the weight of control, denial, and moral compromise. It is a testament to how the structures we built around ourselves Whether it's familial, social, or psychological, it can either sustain or ultimately unravel us. And it is a reminder that while some may fall, others can rise from trauma, finding purpose, empathy, and understanding where tragedy once resides. And because ultimately, the hardest prisons are not always built by walls and locks, they are built within the mind. And the spaces where denial, fear, and the refusal to confront truth takes root. And within the reality, there's a lesson not only about Donna Adelson, but about all of us. The ways we navigate control and responsibility and grief define not only our actions, but the enduring legacies we leave behind. I share the Markel family's grief in a deeply personal way. My own family has endured a trajectory of loss, a destruction that ripples through relationships and leaves an emotional void. We too experience the alienation of children, the unrelenting psychological toll, and the intricate navigation required to survive a trauma that has reshaped every layer of daily life. It is this shared understanding that compels me to bring these stories to light by analyzing the psychology behind these cases, by unpacking the thoughts and the thought patterns and the behaviors that lead to tragedy. I hope to offer even a small measure of understanding, perhaps even solace, to those who remain affected. This is the psychology of true crime. Thank you for watching. This is my psychological take on the hows and the whys of the case using public information and trial testimony. This is not this it does not include any therapy or diagnosis. I hope to catch you on the next one.